Exhaustion. I thought I'd check in with you. Right now it's autumn. I'm in Germany. Spring and summer make me think in the present. Autumn and winter paralyze me. Autumn makes me remember, forces me into mental rewind. Today we were in the van driving through a small village and I caught the smell of a wood-burning fire. It sent me. I inhaled again, but it was gone. Made me think of when I was in the 4th grade. I delivered papers for the Washington Star. In the autumn, the sun would set early and it would be dark by the time I would finish the route. I could smell the wood-burning fires all over, every block. Another thought comes in to interrupt. A few months ago, I was at the new music seminar in New York, that bullshit wheel they run every year so all the labels can go tell each other how great they are. This time around, we played the seminar. It was good as gigs go, but it was a drag having to be around all these people from nowhere peddling their music. I was put on the artist panel to answer questions from the audience. There were some pretty interesting people on the panel. I sat next to Hank Ballard. He was a trip. I talked to Leonard Cohen. He was cool. That little shit from the Police was there. Lemmy was on the panel, drunk. So anyway, we're all lined up behind this long table and the mediator is an idiot, asking the panelists a bunch of stupid questions. He asked Leonard Cohen what it was like to fuck Nico at the Chelsea Hotel. Some bright penny sent a question for me to answer. Something like, having grown up serving designer ice cream to fellow rich kids in a nice neighborhood, how can you reconcile what you do now? What kind of question is that? It's the kind of thing you ask when you want to get smacked, and that's what should have happened. It would have been great if the guy had come up front and asked the question, and then I climbed down from the stage, punched him once, and walked back to my seat. That would have been high-class entertainment as well as an art statement. Nietzsche called them the tiny masters of today, the little shitheels who never get what they need so bad. So anyway, I would throw papers until past dark and I'd stay out as long as I could without freezing my ass off. I did all I could to stay out of the house. I didn't want to be in there if I could help it. I knew that my mother would be home and I wanted to stay away from her as much as possible. It was all right. I would hang out and walk the streets passing the time. I liked being out on the streets. It's where I felt best. Home was always painful when she was there. On the streets I could be alone, to be with my own thoughts. Looking back, it was good that it went down that way. I learned to be self-reliant at an early age. The autumn makes me think of women. Something about the cold air brings life to a woman's face. Perhaps it's just that I'm lonely at this point in the year, always rocking out in some shithole. But you know, it's a false loneliness because for the life of me, I can't think of a single woman that I'd want to be with. I like the ones in my imagination the best. The ones that I think up in the van as the miles fly by. They're the women that I tell myself about after shows when I'm feeling empty and alone. The women that fill the lie. The women who fill the void for a while until I can get on to other thoughts. Sometimes it's hard not to get lost in your thoughts on these tours. All these people in your face. Nothing like it to let you know that you're totally alone. The isolation is vivid. And then there's you, Exhaustion. You always come in near the end of a tour to remind me that I'm not 20 anymore. Sometimes I think that I'm from another planet. I bet a lot of people feel like that too. Like no one will ever know them and they'll never be able to fit into this screaming, horrific bullshit festival. They try and hold on to something and somehow it all falls out of their grasp. Or even worse, it sits out of reach. You can get to feeling displaced, feeling no placed. I have grown accustomed to feeling alien everywhere I go. It's no big deal. I remember when I used to get off work. I would go eat in the same hamburger place every night. People would always be staring at me, looking at my bald head. At first it used to trip me out and get me mad, but after a while I could be in a room full of people staring and I wouldn't even care. You get a strange distance from people that you never get back all the way, no matter what happens. Once you've been on the outside, a part of you will always be out there. It's a good thing, too. If you let them, they'll waste your time and make you sick until there's nothing left of you. Every time they push you out, you get more of yourself in return. I figure it's a good deal, seeing how many people have no clue as to who they are. Waiting all night by the phone, hoping that someone will call. Going out with people they don't care about or don't even like because they can't stand the thought of being alone. Because the thought of being alone tells them that they're failures. That people who are alone are always lonely and miserable. I hear so many stories about people having to lie all night because they were out with someone they didn't like and had to keep up some kind of appearance. That's the stuff that gives you nervous breakdowns and cancer. It all makes me feel the same way every time. People, for the most part, are a waste of time. The more time you get to yourself, the better. When I had wheels, I used to spend more time in my car than in my apartment. I had a mono tape deck in there and I would drive around just to hear the music. There was this Dunkin' Donuts I used to go to and hang out by myself. Every moment spent away from my boss, from people I knew, every moment I spent making my own world, I felt better about myself. I would hang out in this place and drink coffee and listen to the locals talk and try and untangle the last 4 years of my life. I didn't know what to do with all the hatred that I had inside. I tried to write, but it didn't work. A good healthy level of hate is always good to have on hand at all times. Nothing wrong with it. Hate gets you through the times where love just confuses and entraps. Hate is so final and pure. Love is always many-headed and dangerous. I know hate is good because I see how many people don't know how to deal with it. They don't see it for the energy force it can be. When it rises in them, they run headlong into a stranger who lives inside. They don't know themselves and it tears them up when they need themselves the most. They don't have themselves to go to. They were always too busy burning the wax, trying to look good for someone else, trying to be someone's something. What a sellout. That's a waste when you sell yourself out. There's certain music that only works for me in the autumn. Sitting in this cold club makes me want to hear Lou Reed. When I came through here with Black Flag in 1983, it was February. It was cold as hell. We played this Velvet Underground tape as we limped from show to show. Ever since then, it's always been Lou in the autumn and winter. His album, Street Hassle, got me through many cold weather blues. Still does. I can't remember an autumn in the last several years when I wasn't in a van driving down some gray, vacant highway. Cold weather makes me think clearer and makes me more withdrawn than usual. I'm not close to people. I'm close to myself. I spend a lot of time inside. Where else can you go when everything pushes you to every edge in the joint? You have to make your head your home. It's the only way to withstand places like the one that I'm in tonight. If you can't pull into yourself, you're finished. The road will crush you. Nothing like Europe for exercises in isolation. That's why I like it here. Last night was good. After the show was over, I sat behind the PA and listened to the music. No one could see me, so I could hang out without having to talk to anyone. After shows, people can really bring me down. They ask questions that I can't understand. They want to talk about what they just saw, which is the last thing I want to think about. Sometimes when they ask questions, I can tell by what they want to know that the distance between them and me is really far. It's depressing. I see that I really am all alone out there. It was good just to be able to listen to the music and not have to see or talk to anyone. I don't even want to talk to the guys in the band after playing. I just want to sit and try and pick up the pieces as best I can. There's a great feeling when you're totally resolved, when you make the jump from being lonely to being only, when you're so totally alone and absolute, when you are the number one. This is a great moment. Finally, you know something. It's all yours. When I've put myself through the human test and come through still being able to say my name and knowing that there's nothing else for me and no one for me, I become stronger. My willpower grows. I push my pain threshold out farther. I'm able to take more. I'm able to learn more. I've made myself an enemy of praise and adulation. Let me explain the reason for this. Praise is dangerous. It can go from a little to too much in a few words. Sure, it's nice to know that someone likes what you do. You can see what it does to the rock star types that believe the reviews and all the things that everyone says. But to take it all the way, you must turn a deaf ear to praise. Move and keep moving. The last thing I want to hear is that someone likes what I do. When someone starts in with it, I try and change the subject. I know that I'm probably more extreme than most in this respect, but I found that praise screws me up. I like it best having little or no interaction with people at all. That's not to say that I don't like people that come to the Roadhouse to see the show. I feel a great responsibility to these strangers. They take time out of their lives to check out what I'm doing, and I'm honored, but I don't want to hear the rub. I am systematically destroying myself piece by piece, and I don't want to be complimented on it. You have to be careful, because it can all turn on you. I find myself in bad situations where I ask myself if I should never talk to anyone again. I just want to get on with the work. The rest doesn't matter. Seeing someone that you haven't seen for years and they tell you what your problems are and that you're nothing but an asshole anyway. You're in that magazine. Who do you think you are? And I think to myself about the long drives and all the bullshit that anyone on the road has to put up with. I pull back from that thought and look at this guy, my age, with a beer gut and an attitude, giving me grief. It's sad when someone you know becomes someone you knew. It makes me very hard and wary around people. If I'm not careful, I'll slip into ugly ruts of cynicism, and I don't want to be like that. Exhaustion, you're a disease. Best not to mix the past with the present. The present paints the past with gold. The past paints the present with lead. When I run backwards, I feel the desperation rise. Best for me to hurtle headlong into the present, never look back, maybe catch on fire if I do it right. That's all there is, the right now. If we don't plant ourselves in the front row of the present, I predict that if any of us reach old age, we'll be sitting on the front porch thinking, damn, should have burned all the temples, screamed, danced, and dragged life through the coals. I align myself with life's brutal headlong lunge towards death. I'm in motion at all times, waging war with exhaustion, winning some and losing some.